Gabryong Kim. For us Lookism fans, this guy is literally the undisputed peak of Generation Zero. We're talking about the myth, the absolute legend, the leader of the infamous Fist Gang. But going through his lore recently got me wondering, if we cross that boundary between fiction and reality, what actual, real-world science and physics would be required to pull off his mythological feats? Well, let's dive right into this explainer and find out.
So, what does it actually take to punch straight through solid stone? Because, in Lookism, we literally see Gabryong destroy a statue with his bare hands, like he's swatting a fly. And sure, we just kind of accept it because he's practically a demigod in the story, but how much force is that in reality? And maybe more importantly, how could a human body withstand that massive impact without its own bones just turning to dust?
Section 1. The Pre-Generation Legend.
Okay, to really understand the science here, we have to look at his style first. The entire gang was literally named the Fists of Gabryong Kim, which pretty much tells you everything you need to know about his absolute dominance. Interestingly enough, he didn't rely on mixed martial arts at all. MMA as a refined formal system didn't really exist in his early days anyway. Instead, he relied on just pure, brutal fundamentals. He was a classic, old-school street brawler. We're talking basic punching, grappling, and throwing. Basically, whatever worked in the heat of the moment, all powered by his massive, innate strength. It's exactly like one fan perfectly described his style. Left, right, good night.
Section 2. Superhuman Physical Stats.
Now, to fight like a literal battering ram, you need a massive foundation. Based on visual comparisons and community scaling, Gabryong in his prime stood somewhere between 6'5" and 6'7" tall. I mean, that's taller than a lot of NBA players. Even when you put him next to the towering 7-foot giant Baekho Kwon, Gabryong carries a tremendous amount of mass and leverage into every single strike.
Section 3. The Mastery of Conviction.
But here's the thing, sheer size only gets you so far. Gabryong's true secret weapon is conviction. Unlike masteries of speed or technique, this iconic purple aura state cannot be obtained through physical training. No way. It is purely emotion-driven, triggered by this overwhelming desire to protect someone or something. Gabryong uses this conviction to completely surpass his own physical limits, allowing him to do impossible things, like predicting and blocking invisible attacks. But, as noted heavily in the lore, pushing past your physical limits like this exacts a really severe, dangerous toll on the user's body.
Section 4. Physics of Shattering Stone. Okay, let's look at the math here. When Gabryong strikes that statue or punches a brick wall, he's outputting a staggering 63,000 newtons of force. Let me break that down. A common household brick, or a piece of carved stone, has a compressive strength of roughly 30 newtons per square millimeter. So if you assume a human fist has an impact area of about 21 square centimeters, the math dictates that you need to exert exactly 63,000 newtons of force just to break through it. To put that insane number into perspective for a second, an elite, real-world heavyweight boxer maxes out at about 6,316 newtons. Yeah, Gabryong is outputting roughly 10 times the force of the absolute peak human fighters in our reality. To naturally generate that in the real world, you would essentially need a mass of over 200 metric tons moving at walking speed. Or you'd need to swing a heavy sledgehammer with literally everything you've got.
Section 5. Iron palm and bone density.
And that raises a massive biological problem, right? Sir Isaac Newton's third law dictates that if Gabryong hits a stone statue with 63,000 newtons, well, the stone hits his hand back with 63,000 newtons. The only reason his hands don't instantly turn to powder lies in a real-world biological principle called Wolff's Law. Discovered by a German anatomist named Dr. Julius Wolff back in the 19th century, this law states that if loading on a bone increases, the bone will remodel itself over time to become denser and stronger. The actual architecture and mass of the skeleton literally adjust to withstand the prevailing forces.
And traditional martial artists have basically weaponized Wolff's Law for centuries. I mean, you don't just start out by punching brick walls. A typical iron palm progression starts by striking canvas bags filled with relatively soft mung beans. Over months and months, you progress to sand, then gravel, and finally iron shot or wooden makiwara posts. These constant progressive microfractures in the metacarpals and phalanges trigger osteoblastic activity. Basically, the body heals the bones, adding denser cortical bone every single time. It's essentially forging the hand exactly like a blacksmith forges iron.
And modern science actually backs this up. In a 2015 pilot study that tracked a 100-day hand conditioning regimen, researchers used densitometer scans and X-rays to track the physiological changes of a martial artist. The result? In just 100 days, the bone mineral density in the dominant hand increased by 2.1%. So by utilizing Wolff's Law, human bones can genuinely become dense enough to shatter hard objects without breaking themselves.
But here is the catch, and honestly, the ultimate tragedy of Gabryong's power. Even with decades of intense iron palm conditioning, Wolff's Law has a biological ceiling. The human body can only get so dense. Gabryong's conviction allows him to output force far, far beyond his natural skeletal limits. He forces his body to write checks that his bone density simply cannot cash. And that is exactly why utilizing conviction exacts such a devastating toll on his body. He is literally breaking himself to protect his people.
So, we've looked at the math, the 63,000 newtons, the bone density, and the science of Wolff's Law. But Gabryong defies that science through sheer willpower. So it leaves us with this. In a fight, what truly decides the victor? Is it the raw, undeniable physics of bone density and force generation? Or is it the emotional conviction to protect, even if it means tearing yourself apart in the process? It's a fascinating balance between science and spirit, for sure. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.